This is episode 95 of Weighing In with Travis Hartman. I'm B Money, the producer. That over there is Weekend Trav. We're coming to you on a Monday from the TH Boxing facility on the second floor in the podcast room. Weekend Trav, good to see you.
What's up, B Money?
Hey, well, this is the #1 beards, bourbon, and boxing podcast shot in Orlando, Florida, specifically Laureate Park, specifically in a boxing gym, specifically on the second floor of said boxing gym in the podcast room, shot on a Sunday and Monday. Today is Monday, dropping on
Wednesday morning at 7:15 a.m.
in the world. That is us, folks. We appreciate our demographic and those that follow along to our content, whether you're following us on YouTube, on Spotify, on Rumble, on any other audio source where you stream your audio podcasts. We are there. Weighing In with Travis Hartman. Search for us, find us, follow us, like us, love us, because we need your love. We need your approval. We desperately need it. Doing. So that being said, thank you so much to those that have been subscribing. Please continue to do so. And if you have not yet done so, please go below and do it. And the bell icon on YouTube is very important, I guess, for the stats. It's important for the algorithm.
Smash it. And that way you know next time we drop some new content, yada, yada, yada. So Weekend Trav, we're coming into the season of boxing that is a little slower than we probably experienced over the last month or so. We're hitting a Labor Day weekend this coming weekend. If you're catching us here, it's on a Wednesday if it's fresh content. But we're leading into a 3-day holiday time period. But there's still a lot of boxing out there. And we're going to talk about a little bit coming up, one of which is a heavyweight matchup with Luis King Kong Ortiz taking on Andy Ruiz Jr. Also, we have to talk about, just because it was all over social media, we have to talk about this KSI thing. KSI guy. Who is he? We don't get to pick what we talk about. Things happen and we just have to discuss it.
It's almost
briefly.
It's like a current event in the boxing world.
I feel like we'd be doing a disservice if we didn't at least talk about it briefly.
You just kind of talk about certain things briefly. We'll talk about that not at the onset, somewhere in the middle, folks, because we want to get to real action. And then obviously we'll talk about the upcoming matchup with Canelo Alvarez and Triple G. That's in a couple of weeks. We have some time to talk about that. But Weekend Trav. I've talked enough.
Let's get into the grit.
We want to jump into the grit. Do you jump into grits?
I don't know, actually.
We're in the South here. It's
Do you eat grits?
I don't eat grits. I don't like. My wife likes grits. I don't like it.
I don't think I've actually ever had grits.
I'm just like, if you're gonna eat grits, eat oatmeal. I eat oatmeal. I will eat oatmeal.
I think I'm not very Southern because I don't think I've even tried grits.
Yeah, it's just kind of like whatever, a little grainy. Put some butter in it, whatever.
The only grain I like is in my alcohol.
That's true. So we'll also talk about this. We are drinking a nice Eagle Rare here. We'll get to the specifics a little bit into the show. But first and foremost, heavyweight matchup, Weekend Travel. Let's jump right in. We have the Mexican Destroyer, Andy Ruiz Jr., taking on Luis King Kong Ortiz this weekend in L.A., California. What you got?
Sunday. On Fox pay-per-view on a Sunday. I'm starting to get used to this, like, Sunday boxing. Kind of like it because Saturday they give us like they sprinkle in a little bit of like ESPN Plus and stuff like that on a Saturday. So I get boxing Saturday, get boxing Sunday. Then we get to talk about it on a Sunday or a Monday or a Tuesday, but dropping on a Wednesday.
Always on a Wednesday.
But this is a big fight actually. Andy Ruiz and Luis Ortiz. Mm-hmm. I would have said about 5 years ago, Luis Ortiz wins this fight hands down. However, I'm not saying he loses it right now. I'm just saying that about 5 or 6 years ago, Luis King Kong Ortiz beats pretty much a lot of people out there. He was dodged a lot by a lot of people for good reason. The dude's massive. He's a lefty. He's Cuban. He knows how to box, and he can punch. He was outboxing Deontay Wilder, their first fight, I believe it was. The entire fight ended up getting stopped, I think, in the last round and was winning on points. And they rematched, and I think Wilder knocked him out again. But Luis Ortiz can fight. Andy Ruiz, for all those who don't know who he is, I also mentioned him as John Ruiz in the last week's episode on accident when we were talking about Anthony Joshua. But we fixed it because B Money had me. But Andy Ruiz can fight. He's the one who upset Anthony Joshua. But you know what it's looking like now?
Is it really an upset?
We're looking at RPI. Do college football, RPI, shrink the schedule, basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Ruiz's RPI is going down by the minute. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, the strength of schedule that I even gave Anthony Joshua, I gave him a little too much credit, I think. I really do. So the reason I bring it up is because that is Andy Ruiz's biggest win.
Well,
that's his biggest win to date.
So to your
solid win, yes.
To your RPI comments, I'll give you Vegas lines here. The money line, Andy Ruiz, we have a minus 360, so a heavy favorite in this one. Luis Ortiz plus 260. So Vegas is seeing it as pretty much a rout here, where it looks like money's going under 9.5 rounds on this thing.
Ooh, I think that's a very appetizing one. I think it's if that's the Vegas odds right now, I think, in my opinion, that's very appetizing because I don't see Andy Ruiz stopping Luis Ortiz. I don't. I see that fight going the distance.
Okay.
But I think the only chance is Andy Ruiz to outbox Luis Ortiz to outwork him because he is the older guy. Luis Ortiz is. He can box, but he's the older guy, so I don't see him being able to go 12 high-paced rounds.
I don't know if I want to see either of these guys go 12 rounds. Those last 4 rounds are going to be ugly if that's the case.
I think it possibly will. It depends on which Andy Ruiz shows up, too. Do we have the very, very fit and dedicated Andy Ruiz? Hopefully so, because if he's not, if a good Andy Ruiz doesn't show up, he'll lose to a Luis Ortiz. I think at this point, Luis Ortiz is kind of like the gatekeeper of the heavyweight division, in my opinion. He's the guy who could beat you, yes, but he's a guy that you need to beat to get to a title fight. So I think Andy Ruiz is a lot on the line.
Yeah, we can Trav. When I look at social media posts, things like that, the Mexican Destroyer looks sharp. He looks very good.
Yeah.
Very quick.
He's obviously
he's going
to win.
He's going to be a stout dude. He's not going to be a shredded guy ever in his life.
No,
but
his body's not built that way.
No, but for what he has and his body mass, that guy is quick.
Yeah.
Very fast, very sharp, a lot of power. And if you're talking Ortiz as the gatekeeper, well, then he might be in for a short night. I think if we're talking Vegas standards or gambling, which, by the way, yes, every once in a while we put some money on some things, yada, yada, yada. There are different sites and applications. You all, depending on what state you're in, can do that on your own. We are not recommending that. We are not suggesting anything. But I would probably look at the under 9.5 rounds on that thing.
I'm opposite. I think it goes over. The only person to stop Luis Ortiz is Deontay Wilder. And as we all know, that dude punches very hard. So I think the over. I'm betting on the over. On
okay.
Because I also don't think Andy Ruiz has that one-punch knockout power. If y'all watched it, that Anthony Joshua fight, he didn't knock him out.
Yeah.
He stopped him. Anthony Joshua quit. Anthony Joshua was standing there and literally was on his feet, I think, when they stopped it, and he just quit. He checked out mentally, and he just quit. So I don't see Andy Ruiz having the ability to knock out a Luis Ortiz.
Yeah, I think cardio is going to be a problem. I think as we get deeper in those rounds, that's going to be an issue for Ortiz. But we will see. Hopefully this changes the trajectory of some predictions that you've had of recent memory. And I could be wrong, and you could be right.
Thanks a lot, Anthony Joshua.
Hey, remember back in the day where we used to bet on things, and then I got on a little win streak, and then we stopped betting on your choice and my choice? Who cares? So
I mean, if you want to go head-to-head again, we can do this.
All right. Well, we'll have to think.
I need to rebound.
I tell you what.
Get the confidence.
I'm taking
back up,
I'm taking under 9.5 rounds. I don't care who wins.
I like it. I'm going over for sure.
And over. You don't care who wins. So that's going to be it.
Comment
below or give us suggestions. Or if you're checking this out on a reel on the Instagram, what should we be betting against one another? I have Ruiz and Ortiz going under 9.5 rounds. Weekend Trav over 9.5 rounds. What should the loser have to do, or whatever?
Oh, I like it. Comment. Stop being like, we're getting like 2,000-3,000 views on our reels on our Instagram. So that many people are seeing that. Somebody say something. Give us some kind of a weird. I don't care if it's a weird, quirky bet. Just throw it out there. We'll mull it over. Doesn't mean we'll do it. But that's a solid one. I like it. We're going head to head. I like it.
Head to head.
Under, over.
Gosh.
I like it.
This is what our world's come to.
I love it.
So this is on Sunday weekend, Trav. Sunday.
Fox pay-per-view.
Fox pay-per-view coming from Los Angeles, California. And I must say, we met King Kong Ortiz not too long ago.
We did at one of the EntreBox Bally Sports shows.
Nice guy. Nice guy.
Super nice guy.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't even know who he was.
I would call him a sweetheart, but he hit me in the face. But he was a nice guy.
He was very. Yeah, it was good seeing guys like that at the show, but also they didn't promote him enough because like he was sitting in a regular seat at first.
Yeah.
And then somebody got him, was like, "Oh, get ringside," which was an awesome thing to do because that guy does.
And they should.
The dude's a former heavyweight title challenger, and his losses are to guys like Deontay Wilder. Pretty solid.
So 2 minutes here. You give me What occurs? What should be next if Ruiz wins? What should be next if Ortiz somehow wins this thing? 2 minutes.
I think that's a heavyweight title fight right there. I think that the winner of this deserves to fight against a Tyson Fury or a Usyk. Period. Okay. I think they've separated themselves in that division. I think Luis Ortiz is just as credible and deserves it. So I genuinely believe, and I think I think this fight would be a mandatory number one ranking, I believe. So why not? I love it. Andy Ruiz versus Luis Ortiz. Andy Ruiz has proved that he can be there. He dethroned Anthony Joshua. They rematched. He lost a very competitive 12-round decision, but he also came in massively overweight
That's true.
For the rematch.
That's true.
So that was different.
Fat and happy.
He was, and I think he knows that and he admits it. But Luis Ortiz, he's dangerous, man. I'm telling you, about 5 or 6 years ago, he was one of the most avoided heavyweights out there. People didn't want to fight him. Big, lefty, could box, Cuban, could punch, super intelligent. He's boxed his whole life.
Well, we can, Trav. 5 or 6 years ago, the whole world was different. Okay, a lot of things have happened in 5 or 6 years.
2 years ago.
So to talk about a professional athlete from 5 or 6 years ago, that could be two different people, right?
It very could, and I only say that he's still good. I'm not saying that.
You're right.
But the reason I say that is he's listed at 44 years old. But I have some inside sources that say, Travis, I promise you, he's older than that, and he's from Cuba. So Cuba, you can fudge those birth certificates and things like that.
Yeah, is that good or is that bad?
Well,
what if he's 49? He's
older for sure. Well, why it's good is because when he first came over, if it came over him, they were like, oh, he's already 40 years old. He wouldn't get the opportunities that he got.
Right.
Is why they do the age thing. So they're like, I'm not going to tell everybody he's 50 years old because nobody's going to want to come watch him, even though clearly he's 44 and he's still at the highest level. He's still fighting at the highest level, and he's not been blown out one time. Even Deontay Wilder didn't blow him out. He was winning that fight when they were fighting for 12 rounds. So the guy can fight, and it's nothing to sneeze at with Deontay Wilder. We all know he can punch. He put down a guy like Tyson Fury.
But he's so stiff, and watch his feet.
No, he can be outboxed. That's why it was perfect for Luis Ortiz. And if he would have just cruised in that last round, he would be heavyweight champion of the world.
Well, speaking of cruising, let's shift gears here and talk about what was on DAZN over this past weekend. Evidently got a lot of headlines because, frankly, there just wasn't a lot else to talk about from this past weekend, I guess. And that is one KSI took on 2 different janitors or taxi drivers or whoever they are, took 2 different guys down.
Yeah.
We can, Trav. Is this what the world's come to? We're talking about now we're getting professional boxers calling YouTubers out. Is this where we're at?
Yeah, you know what's the reason why we have to talk about this is because it sold out 20,000 people.
Unbelievable.
Live, plus it was on DAZN.
Unbelievable.
As well. And KSI, to be fair, when KSI fought Logan Paul years ago, when Logan Paul came back onto the scene, not Jake Paul, people get these guys mixed up. Logan Paul is the one that fought Floyd Mayweather. And Logan Paul is not actually a professional boxer.
He's a professional wrestler.
Well, no, wait. Actually, he is a professional boxer because the second time he fought KSI, it was a pro fight on DAZN. Anyway, Logan Paul and KSI 3 or 4 years ago, they were one of the first YouTubers to really start in it, right? KSI didn't impress me at all. I thought KSI won that fight, but I thought he got ripped off. Logan Paul did. I thought Logan Paul actually beat KSI. What I'm getting at is KSI over the weekend, I was like, wow, he got a little better. And I'm saying this not on the elite level pro scene like Canelo Alvarez better. I'm saying he got a little better. I was like, wow, this guy actually looks like he's been training a little bit. And he did. He beat a rapper. Who cares? I didn't care about the fact how he beat them. Is what he looked. And I was like, wow, he looked like he actually knows how to throw a punch. He was fast.
Didn't one of them go into the second round?
Yeah, okay. I don't know how. And the guy,
Okay.
It should have been stopped in the first because I believe he went down like 3 or 4 times. They just kept it going. But that's not what I'm commenting on. I didn't care about his opponent. I looked at what he looked like, and I was like, he actually didn't look bad. And the reason I say that is I wouldn't mind seeing a Jake Paul and a KSI. I actually wouldn't mind seeing it.
Why?
I just, because I want to see if these YouTubers can just meet up and like get a highlight reel knockout, or one of them would quit, or what. I want to see. And I'm not mentioning it. This is my entertainment. This is not my professional boxing knowledge. I don't want to see it on that scene. I want to see it as entertainment value, like a WWE.
Well, sure. So
I want to see it in that.
So
regards.
keeping the
That's what
YouTubers
I'm
in their
saying.
own lane, keep the boxers in their own lane. I don't know. Speaking of Jake Paul, he has mentioned that he does have an opponent signed, sealed, and hopefully delivered this week. We will know that
For
on that
October.
front. For October, who knows? It might be KSI. They've somewhat alluded to some things.
We all have guilty pleasures. B-Man.
Yeah, but the name that keeps in that conversation a little bit, we talked about it last week, is Mike Perry. Who knows?
Yeah.
That could be it. I don't know if that'll be enough time for him to get clearance from his last brutal warfare to October, but there are names in the mix, I guess. But my question to you, when it comes to a Jake Paul in October, what's going to be interesting?
I don't know. Man.
What's actually going to be of interest here? We've
It's
done
tough because he's went through two different opponents. This will be his third one in the last 4 months.
Yeah, but it's more like
3 months,
it's
2
more
months.
like exactly. He's had a couple of fights, but he's had several more opponents, and they just don't pan out.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know where he goes. So I'm actually, to be fair, I'm actually really curious to who they're getting. I don't have any inside knowledge on this one. I don't know who they're getting, and we said it a year ago. I was going back and looking through our podcast episodes over a year ago. In our headlines, we were like, "Fight Mike Perry." They're like,
Yeah.
should Jake Paul? This was a year ago. We were on the platinum Mike Perry train then. Over a year ago, you can go back and look at our episodes. We mentioned it. But I would love to see that fight.
Well,
I mean, that would be, but I don't think, I think you're correct though. Mike Perry just had a massive win over in England over Michael Venom something, Page.
Yep.
Yeah. He just, it was a massive win over there for sure.
Yep.
And bare knuckle boxing is
War.
a little different than Mike Perry, what he called the pillows. And he's not wrong because the pillows do keep you from getting as cut up as Mike Perry was. Mike
Sure.
Perry's got a lot of cuts.
There's
It's
some
gonna take
damage
time
in
to
there,
heal.
so
And it has to heal.
I know that both of those two guys have sparred before in the past, okay, and there's some leaked footage and this and that. That was a long time ago. They both have improved. I'm talking Jake Paul, Mike Perry. They both improved on the actual striking game.
Yeah.
Mike Perry's always been a fighter. He's always been a
Tough,
cage
gritty,
guy,
mother
tough guy.
effer
So
guy.
I don't want to make it seem like his striking skills weren't there. They've been there, but he's refined them, is what I should say.
Yeah, a little better because he's
He's
went to
been-
a sport where it's only boxing.
Correct.
Because
So
he's been in UFC for so long.
yeah, so he's been training that. Obviously, Jake Paul with BJ Flores, he's been sharpening his skills too. That would be interesting. I don't think that's what this is going to be.
No.
I don't know who it's going to be, but unfortunately for all of us and everyone watching these things, it's got to be main event material, right? Because he
Yeah.
would be the main event on this thing in October.
Yep. Do you happen to know off the top of your head but when Nate Diaz is fighting?
I don't think it's going to be him because that fight is coming up.
It's early September, I think, though.
Yeah, but that's not enough time to be cleared.
Yeah.
So-
and they couldn't announce it now because because they're trying to announce it, I think, within the next week. Like
I think
you
this
can't
week.
just say they've signed
By
it,
the
they're
time
gonna
this
announce
drops on Wednesday, it might already be out there.
I don't honestly. I'm curious.
Yeah,
I'm
so
really curious more than anything.
either way, we're going to post online on Instagram and everywhere else. Follow us, Wayne and with Travis Hartman, all one word. You can find us on the socials, and we'll be up to the
update
minute.
the Facebook and the Instagram up to the 24 hours.
Frankly, our marketing people, they don't have a life, so they're on there all the time.
all the time.
They're taking care of it. So I mean, that's coming up. I don't know. Maybe it is KSI. I mean,
Technically, that would be the only one to me that would make sense because KSI didn't get beat up much. He fought twice in one night.
but this is what
BS.
we're talking about.
I
But
know.
then we have a guy. I hate to bring up Tommy Fumbles, but I saw on the socials that he then called out KSI. Seriously, this is what we've gotten to. A professional boxer called this guy out.
So I'll give you a curveball. What if October is Tommy Fumbles again?
I don't
do you
care.
think? What do
From
you
day
think?
one, Weekend Trav, and you can go back in our episodes. I don't care about that fight.
It's true.
I don't care about it.
B-Money 100% said that multiple times. The only fight I feel like you would care about with Jake Paul right now is Mike Perry.
Yes.
Would that be correct?
Yes, that's correct.
B-Money would be super interested in that fight. And I think a lot of people, to be honest, I'm not BSing around, I think a lot of people actually be into that fight.
And listen, for multiple reasons, not just because Mike's a friend of mine, so it's not just because of that, but it's because I think that would be an ultimate test.
Mike's one of the toughest, grittiest mothers
Correct.
out there.
And I want to, You know what? That's a massive payday for both of them. That'd be a huge payday. So obviously, I want to see
Get that money,
my
Mike.
friend get that bag, right? So him and his budding family, I want to see
I
that.
promise you that Mike would not fumble that bag.
No.
Period.
He would be wheeled in there in a wheelchair or on crutches, and he would fight to the last breath.
100%.
He would do anything for his family. I respect the hell out of that guy. So that's the only fight I would want to see against Jake Paul. So whoever this is going to be, you gotta. There's no movement for me on this unless it is a Mike Perry taking on Jake Paul.
And you know what? I hate that this is the transition, but let's talk about some real boxing now. Let's
Thank
talk
you.
about the boxing mecca.
The
of boxing.
real fight that gives
The
boxing
real
fans
goat of boxing.
real movement, and that would be Canelo Alvarez taking on Triple G here in 2 weeks. I believe that is on the 17th in Las Vegas weekend, Trav. Holy moly. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth as the weeks get closer, but initial thoughts here.
This fight deserves more play than those other guys for sure. That's why we're going to give it that
Absolutely.
proper notice. So this is the trilogy. This is, 3 or 4 years in the making. These guys have fought twice. The first fight, they ruled a draw. A lot of people thought that Triple G won the first fight. The second fight, I think a lot of the population had Canelo winning the second fight. Pretty narrowly, but had him winning it. Now Triple G, I believe, is 40 years old. He's a little older, but he's still Triple G. Triple G hasn't lost since the fights with Canelo. The last person to beat Triple G is Canelo. So that's why this trilogy does make sense. It's a good fight, and what makes it even more interesting is Canelo's coming off a loss to Dimitri Bivol.
Sure.
So a lot of people could be like, oh, Canelo's confidence is down. Triple G's hasn't lost a fight since Canelo. So a lot of people make Triple G's up, even though he is 40 years old. I don't think the age, in my opinion, to be fair, I keep mentioning it. I'm only mentioning it because it's the truth, but I don't think it's going to play a factor in this fight.
So as of August 29th, that is today that we're filming, Vegas doesn't agree with you when it comes to the mental state of Canelo Alvarez, as he is a minus 500 favorite in this one on the money line, whereas Triple G is a plus 350. I mean, honestly, you might as well just take that just in case. You know, you just throw a couple bucks towards that for the payoff.
Yeah, I wouldn't waste your money because I think that even though I said Triple G is coming off a loss, I do think that our Triple G, Canelo's coming off a loss. I do think Canelo is probably more motivated than ever, though. Yeah. He's that type of character and that type of athlete that when he loses, he doesn't get down. He gets even grittier and works even harder.
Yeah,
he knows he's got to come back for something big.
Fight expected to finish under 10.5 rounds out of the 12. I mean, this is a hard one to actually bet on.
I think the only interesting thing that's going to happen in this fight is I do, off the top of my head, think it goes 12 rounds. But what I do think the difference in this fight is that I do think Canelo is going to press the action. And for once, I think he's going to try and knock out Triple G because I think the first fight, which they ruled a draw, I think a lot of the world, a majority of the world, thought that Triple G won. Mm-hmm. The second fight was very close, but Canelo, in my opinion, won the second fight. I think he won that fight fair and square. So I think this third fight, Canelo and his legacy, I think he's like, you know what? Everybody said the first couple fights were close. I want to put a stamp on this. And Canelo's coming off of a loss, so I think he's like, I want to erase that mental thought of everybody. Do you know what's funny, though? I've had so many people ask me about Canelo. They're like, so is Canelo done, or where do you think he goes from here? I look at him and I'm like,
he went
up to light heavyweight,
fought up in a weight,
and he didn't get dominated. He did lose, but I was like, what do you mean? Where does he go? This guy, in my opinion, is still up in the top 5 pound for pound conversation.
This is the the skill of sports media is that they find something to talk about and they make the general population think, oh, maybe he is almost done. Because he lost to a guy that's much bigger than him and very
30
skilled.
years old, 31 years old, the top of his game right now.
There's a reason why Bivol has all that hardware. Now, he's on the shelf, I think. I think his fight got pushed back a little bit, Bivol. But there's a reason. And Canelo, he had to move up in weight. He's been moving up in weight his whole career.
There you go. It's not like he just went one weight class, not 2 weight classes, not 3, 5 weight classes up to fight Bivol. So listen, and that's not taking anything away. Bivol is a very, very good fighter, and said it on the podcast. I was like, hey, this is a dangerous stylistically matchup for Canelo. It's just dangerous for sure.
Now here's an interesting way to play this one. I mean, if you think for certain that Canelo Alvarez is going to win, you could take, which isn't a good payout, take the minus 500. But if you have an inkling about the round, if you have a feeling about maybe he does finish him. Maybe he does finish Triple G under, let's say, under 6.5. That's a plus 375. Under 5.5 rounds is plus 500. So there you start to play some games here on the gambling front. It's interesting weekend, Trav. That might be the way I play it. I'll see as we get closer to the 17th.
Do some prop bets on some
Do some props.
rounds.
That's the fun part for me. So we will see as we get closer to September 17th. We're going to talk a bit more about this fight as we get closer, obviously. The only other thing I want to mention on the boxing front weekend, Trav, is the fact that we have the ladies fighting on the 10th in England. We finally have Savannah Marshall taking on Clarissa Shields, but also Alicia Bumgardner taking on Michaela Mayer. That'll be a pretty good card. Big matchup.
It's unification, right?
I believe so as well. So that's on the 10th, which I believe is a Saturday coming up after Labor Day here in the States. So that'll be an interesting one. We'll talk about that next week. We want to give the ladies some love on that one as well. But we can, Trav, anything else on the boxing front that you wanted to jump into?
No, I mean, I think the Canelo and the Triple G rematch trilogy deserves its airtime for sure. It's a fight that we've probably wanted to see for a little bit. There was some legacy building in the mix, which means Canelo was fighting for legacy in the process after that second fight, which I get it. But you know what else? I mean, Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, I don't know if they're any closer to making that deal, but I know the conversation is still going on. I know they're hammering out a deal. I would not be surprised. We're at the end of August right now. I would not be surprised still to see that fight land somewhere in December if it happens.
Yeah,
I could possibly see it in 2022.
They'll have to announce it in the next few weeks if that's the case.
Yeah. It's a fight that deserves to be built correctly. Both these guys are very, very top, high-level guys, and for sure. What I wanted to mention real fast was on the Canelo versus Triple G front. I've mentioned this in the past episodes when I talked about Giovanni Estella and about power and knockouts. Most elite-level fights, especially non-heavyweight elite-level fights, don't end in knockout.
Sure.
So that's why I don't think that Canelo versus Triple G is going to end in a knockout. I do think that one goes the distance. As of right now, I haven't changed my mind yet, but I'm just going to stick to what Weekend Trav says. And I do, and it usually happens, and you see the top fighters. And in my opinion, if the groundwork of what I say is true, I do consider Triple G and Canelo elite. So, elite fighters, you don't usually see knockouts.
We might have another internal bet going on in a couple of weeks.
We gotta get past the first one.
Let's get through this one. Let's get through this one with Ortiz and Ruiz. So we can Trav. We wanted to mention what we are drinking today. We are drinking Eagle Rare, the single barrel, hand selected by our friends at Hagan O'Reilly's there in Winter Garden, Florida. 10-year, okay? And also special props to our friends at Wine Regions in Claremont. Just so YouTube is aware, we don't get this for free, okay? So there's no sponsorship here. I don't want you to hurt the algorithm. There's no anything like that. But they're friends of ours, good guys, good people, especially those at Hagan O'Reilly's as well. Either way, so this is the Eagle Rare 10-year single barrel, hand selected by Hagan O'Reilly's in Winter Garden, Florida. Ooh.
This is good stuff, man. I mean, when we do a lot of these bourbons in the early onset of this podcast, we were buying them from ABC. Good stuff, though.
Sure.
Still, but as we know now that there's a difference when you see stuff with the little tag on it that says single barrel hand selected. There's a difference. There's actually a difference in some of that alcohol, and that's why you pay for that difference.
Especially if you trust.
There's a difference.
Especially if you trust the place that's hand selecting the barrels, right? So, and we know these guys in particular. They will go up and they will travel around and they will find what they like, and it will be labeled. Boom! This is for Hagan O'Reilly's.
And I believe when we did a podcast live at Hagan O'Reilly's, I forget the general manager's name. I think his name was John, assistant general manager. He's like, I've been doing this bourbon for 15 to 16 years. Bourbon specifically too, and he's the one that goes with him a lot of these hand select as well. He's obsessed with it. 15 to 16 years worth of knowing what he likes, knowing the taste of everything, and he's the one that helps with these single barrel hand selects for Hagan O'Reilly's, Luis Ortiz. I always say Luis Ortiz. Luis Salazar. What's up, brother? and
like every Spanish guy has a last name Ortiz. This Spanish guy has a last name Waters.
But I'm so bad with this, like the Ortiz, the Ruiz, anything like with that little Z in there, it messes me up. Like John Ruiz and Andy Ruiz, I mess them up. I mean, I've been boxing my whole life, man. Come on, give
You
me a
should,
break.
yeah.
Like,
You've been boxing
people
against
gotta
my
get-
people all life, all your whole life.
People gotta give Weekend Trav a break. I've had 170 amateur fights, 46 pro fights. I've taken a lot of shots, guys.
CTE,
Come on
bro.
now.
CTE. Who knows?
I
I'm
don't
just
think
kidding.
so.
I don't think so either. So that being said, yes, everyone's palate's different, right? Everyone likes different things, but when you have experience in this realm, like I don't want to say his name is John, but if it is John, I'm sorry.
I think it is. I just watched that episode.
When you have experience and you start to have your own palate, what you enjoy, what you like. Same thing with Luis, and same thing with Frankie. I mean, they like certain things, but ultimately you got to trust the insight too. Mm-hmm. These are guys that are in this world a lot more than maybe we are and others, and they're not going to steer you wrong. This is pretty damn good. This Eagle Rare in general, when you go to a restaurant, whatever else, Eagle Rare is very good. You can get Eagle Rare bourbon at really nice higher end restaurants, mid-range higher end restaurants, and it's very good. This one in particular, it is like butter, buddy. This is rolling down the throat.
Aged 10
Chute
years.
is open.
Ooh, I'm going to read you this too. This is going to pump you up when you hear this, okay? I'm going to try to give it my best articulation without messing up, okay?
Good word.
Here's how it starts, okay? It's Eagle Rare Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. We're back on our bourbon trail because we are the #1 bourbon, beards, and boxing podcast
Yeah.
in our demographic.
And that's for you, Dale.
So, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the cornerstones of the birth of a nation, epitomized by the American bald eagle. That nation has come to represent the freedom, spirit, and independence of individual, giving the world products and innovations that are uniquely its own. One such innovation was Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Early Kentucky settlers created bourbon, the true American spirit. I see you over there.
I know.
The true American
me
spirit
going.
in the late 1700s. By practice and protected by law, no other distilled spirit adheres to the standards as strict as those established for the Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. And few other whiskeys can offer even a glimpse of the great whiskey making found in Eagle Rare. Eagle Rare, 10-year-old Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey has a sweet, oaky nose and full complex body. Reminiscent of a fine port wine, this rare whiskey is best served neat or over ice. Of course, feel free to drink Eagle Rare in such a classic cocktails as the Manhattan or whiskey
what?
sour.
That was probably one of the best ways to describe all of it.
Literally.
On the taste, everything.
On point, right?
Very much on point. Everything they mentioned there, with the nose, everything with the port, everything tasted just like that.
It makes sense now with the Eagle Rare too. This was, you know what? This is right up our alley.
Your rendition and your reading of that got me so fired up. I had to
B Money's over
to
there
lift weights.
pumping. If you're listening to us on Spotify or one of the podcast listening apps, B Money was just lifting.
Careful down below.
A single dumbbell. It was. I don't want
It was
to tell you.
pretty-
I don't want to
it
tell
was
you the
pretty
weight,
light.
but
It was
it
pretty
was
light.
pretty heavy.
It's pretty light. You
It
know.
looked pretty heavy from this side.
It's pretty light.
It was about as heavy as that pour that we've been doing.
The weight room is that way.
Get it. Get it.
Weekend Travel. This is the time where we rate this boxing glove 0 to 10, and I went first last time. We're gonna go to you first here on this
man.
one. Yeah.
How do you remember these things?
I don't know. I just make it up, really. Take another sip.
I just did.
Take another
I'm
sip.
thinking about it right now.
Swish it around.
I'm actually taking in the ambiance of the evening. Wait, no.
Now you've had the cigar in your mouth as well, so that changes things.
Oh, the Tabasco. The tobacco with bourbon is a must. Listen, we're this late in the episode. A lot of people have fallen off. Most of our listeners are not listening right now. But if you're dedicated, like our good friends, Dale especially, we love you. Hopefully you're still listening.
Congratulations, by the way, on nuptials.
Are they showing?
No.
Oh,
Dale?
nuptials.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
Dale,
gotcha.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go 7.6. It's a little high for me, but it's not bad. I like it because I also tried it as well at Hagan O'Reilly's, and also Wine Regions.
Yeah, but
sold to
okay.
us.
So last time you went to Hagen's, you had this specific one because I remember the time before when I was with you a long time ago. They had, but that's not the
Didn't try
same
that,
one.
nope.
Yeah,
This one is different because
Correct.
it is a single barrel hand selected.
Correct. It's a different barrel.
Yep.
You ready to be shocked? You ready to be
shock
shocked?
and awe. Give me some shock and awe.
You ready to get the shocker?
Oh. 2 for the pink one. Okay, sorry.
8.0.
Holy
8.0 for an average of 7.8.
Holy Testicle Tuesday.
Yeah, and today's Monday.
What?
Yeah.
Is that your highest ever?
For me, probably is. I think I may have gone 8.1 on something before, but
Wow.
not for a while.
Wow.
Now that I'm a seltzer guy because of the calories,
Wow.
that's a pretty high score.
Dude, that's a really high. So we did good. I told Frankie, I said, Frankie, I need your top 3.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
choice.
I
Top
trust that
3
opinion.
Bourbons. This was one of them.
Mhm.
Good, Frankie. You're the man. Good work. B Money loves it. But to be fair, I do too. Most of my
I trust his
picks are
opinion.
usually 7, and I did a little higher than normal at 7.6. So we haven't had but probably 1 or 2 above 8
Yeah.
in the history of our show.
It would take a lot to be above an 8.
And to be fair, our show is approaching 100 episodes. So we've
very close.
We've drank a lot of bourbon.
Very close. Now,
The
we
fact that
don't.
we've only had a few over 8 is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, I can't even think of more than this. There's probably 2 or 3, though.
Yeah, it's definitely a small number.
I think about all the different ones we've had, and maybe we'll reminisce a little bit on episode 100. Okay, so that's coming up, folks. This is episode
We're hitting the
95 right
century
now.
mark, guys.
So that's 100. If you do anything 100 times, that's pretty impressive. You know?
True.
What are we talking about? What are we talking about? If I disappoint my wife 100 times, that's very impressive.
Actually, it is.
Which that happened.
The fact that you're still
That probably happened
the
at
fact
some
that
point.
she stuck with you
Yeah.
over 100 disappointments
This-
is also impressive, though.
You know, she ain't gonna get any
impressive.
better than me. That's I'm the full package.
You hope, but
I hope. So weekend Trev, 7.8.
I think that's a solid rating. I'm glad that we've definitely. I don't think that you've had one this good for you specifically in a while.
I can't think because I'm looking at the ones
So I
we still
appreciate
need to
that.
get through.
I
By
appreciate
the way,
that.
like I like Noble Oak a lot. This was okay. Puncher's Chance was very good. I like Puncher's Chance. And
there's different versions of that.
I know.
This one was better,
but I like this one for sure. Puncher's Chance. You guys,
wasn't terrible.
great product. And I don't remember what that old Hamer. Anyways.
We do have another one that I just don't know if we're going to open, guys. It's a Nashville Barrel Roasted Spirit, which is also in Claremont, I believe. But it is.
It is. Yep.
But it's.
So the Stranger Things.
The Stranger Things one. And I really don't know if I want to open this.
And if we
guys.
don't, that's fine. But if we do, I need to wear my Stranger Things shirt.
I mean, I don't know if we're going to open it.
Okay.
That one is like special.
Okay.
Maybe if we open it like on Halloween.
Episode 100. Which might be close to Halloween.
No, it'll be in mid-October probably.
You sure?
It's
95?
5 weeks away. 5 weeks from today.
Will
will
we
be
take a
the
break?
End of
I
September.
don't know. I'm just kidding. No. We're very good.
Hey, we've been solid. Speaking of which, we've been solid. We have dropped every Wednesday morning
That's
at
very
17
true.
a.m. for 2+ months now.
Yes.
And that's been the month.
Very solid. The opposite of what's in my
views,
toilet.
Added subscribers.
This is where it falls off, and I love it.
We've done this for a while.
Because we try to tighten up the
You guys
episodes.
missed this.
We
Don't
try
even lie.
to tighten up the episodes to 40 minutes max maybe. And this one's kind of going on a little bit now.
cares?
This is
Everyone
where the
gotta do.
wheels start to come off. Episode 100 will be interesting, Weekend Trav. I have a few ideas for that.
I cannot
Okay.
wait.
We'll-
You know
we'll
what?
get
I
there.
cannot wait.
Yeah. So
I don't
let's
even know what's going to happen.
just jump into final thoughts. How about that?
I don't have a lot to say today.
But when he says that, he usually does have a lot to say. It goes on for like another 5 minutes.
Except that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Hmm.
God bless America. And you know what? You know what our podcast, I feel like our theme, our mantra needs to be? You know what? And it's going to be that. I have a surprise possibly next week.
You have a slogan?
Yes, but no, I'm going to say the slogan now, but I have
Oh.
another surprise next week.
Oh, jeez.
But I think that we are making boxing great again.
You always say that. That's not like news. That's like news. That's fake news.
Yeah, but I think that that's our goal. I feel like that's our
Your phone's
podcast
on.
mantra.
Your phone's been on the whole time, by the
Yeah,
way.
because I was gonna do a video for our Insta. So B Money,
Hmm.
B Money. What are your final thoughts?
Don't put me on the spot like that. I don't really have a lot of final thoughts. You know, I think our humanity is on the edge of a precipice here as we look down and towards the abyss.
Lots of thoughts.
Okay, we're looking down and toward the abyss as we fight and infight with one another in this culture. That's for another conversation. That's for another show. I have a lot of thoughts. I read a lot of weird things.
Stranger things.
Yeah, stranger things for sure. All right, Weekend Trav. I think that's about it.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah, we're done.
We're done?
We're definitely done.
Okay. So special thanks to our media partners, TH Boxing, Gulfstream Financial, and IF Enterprises for your constant media support. We do appreciate our subscriber base, whether you're on YouTube. What, because I stuttered? Don't be an ableist. I have a little stutter, so what?
I didn't even say a word.
Okay, I could
Nobody
see it.
knew
I could
that
see
I
it.
gave you that look.
I could see it in your baby blue eyes. You're about to make fun of the little stutter I had.
Nobody knew I gave you that look.
Unless you're watching.
Just let the cat out of the bag. But go ahead.
Okay. Special thanks also to our subscriber base. If you're following along to our content, thank you so much. If you are not, please consider doing so below. Okay, and I'm saying that nicely because we don't want somebody in an angry fashion to show up to your house one day, and here's what they do. They come to your house and you hear,
Hello?
hey, have you subscribed to the Weighing In with Travis Hartman podcast on YouTube and everywhere else?
No, I have not.
Why not?
Because I think you guys suck.
Okay. Right in the kisser.
Weekend Trav got knocked out.
Knocked out easily. Well, because I'm a different weight class anyways. Doing just like that. So if you have yet to subscribe, please do so below, and on YouTube hit the bell icon so you're notified next time we drop some new content, which we do. We do fight predictions. We do all sorts of crap.
We're pretty lighthearted. We're pretty fun. Follow us on our Instas as well. On our Instas, my Facebooks, or whatever else there is. But follow us because we're kind of interesting.
And every once in a while, if you follow my gambling record, you might make some money.
We're not guaranteeing anything.
We're not guaranteeing
and also
anything. We never do.
Gamble responsibly and don't gamble if you don't have the money to. But
And also drink responsibly.
it's very fun.
If you're 21 and up, this is a very good bourbon.
It is a solid bourbon.
Okay, so I guess that's it.
Put a bow on this one.
I'm putting a bow on it.
Put a knot in that bow.
Okay, so that's where I point. This is the time where I point at you, correct?
Yes.
That there is Weekend Trap.
That there is B Money, a.k.a. producer, a.k.a. We got to wrap this up.
Pick him up, put him down. God bless.